What if the morning you finally had your one shot at a real life, your one interview, your one exit, your own father laughed in your face and said, "Girls like you don't get lives. You get duties." And then your mother blocked the front door while your sister dropped a diaper bag at your feet and walked out to brunch? That's exactly what happened to me. I stepped over that bag, walked out the back door, and never looked back. For 7 years, they thought they destroyed me. They were wrong. And when my sister showed up to interview at my company, applying for a job using my work history, under my accomplishments with my own father listed as a reference to back up every lie, I finally understood why patience is the most powerful thing a quiet person can carry. My name is Layla Summers. I'm 31 years old, and this is the story of how I got everything back, without raising my voice once. Let me tell you about my family first because we didn't look like the kind of family this story would come from. My dad owned a small HVAC business in a mid-sized Ohio town, 8 employees, solid reputation, church-going family, 2 daughters. From the outside we were fine. But inside that house there was a system and I was at the bottom of it. My sister Amber was 2 years younger than me, but you'd never know it from the way my parents treated her. She was the golden one, the one who got pregnant at 19, which somehow made her more valuable to them, not less. She had a daughter, Emma. Beautiful little girl with big eyes and my smile. Emma's first word was my name. Her first steps were toward me, not toward Amber. That should have been a red flag. But I was 20 years old and I thought helping family was just what you did. It started small. "Layla, can you watch Emma for an hour while I run to the store?" Then it was 3 hours. Then all day Saturday. Then overnight. By the time I was 22, I was essentially raising my niece while Amber tried to become a lifestyle influencer. I'm not exaggerating. She started a mommy blog with 14 followers, 12 of whom were relatives. She posted aesthetic photos of Emma in boutique outfits my parents bought, writing captions about sacrifice and motherhood. She never mentioned I was the one doing the actual mothering. The blog failed. Then came essential oils. She lost $800. Then photography. She booked one wedding, delivered the photos 3 months late, got a brutal review and moved on. My parents never once told her to get a real job. Instead, they told me I needed to help more. "Your sister is building something," my mother would say. "You're just here." I was more than here. Every morning by 7, I was answering phones at my dad's company. I was scheduling 4 field technicians across a 6-county service area, processing invoices, managing the customer database, handling accounts payable and receivable. When the office manager quit in 2017, I took over all her duties without a title, without a paycheck. When I asked about payment, my dad said the same thing every single time. "Family doesn't pay family, Layla. This is how you contribute." I did the math once late at night when I couldn't sleep. 35 hours a week at the office. 30 more watching Emma and Amber's new baby, Caleb. 65 hours of unpaid labor every single week, for 3 years. At minimum wage in Ohio, that was over $65,000 I'd given them. But it was never really about the money. It was about the fact that they turned my entire 20s into a waiting room for everybody else's life. My bedroom had become storage for Emma's toys. The bed was covered in Amber's laundry. I had a corner, a lamp, and a pile of library books I never had time to read. I was 24 years old and I didn't have a life. I had duties. Then in the spring of 2019, something changed. I'd been taking free online courses during nap times, project management certification, Excel, basic HR principles. I'd built a resume that tried very hard to make office manager for a family HVAC company sound professional. I applied to 60 jobs over 4 months. Only one called me back. A consulting firm in Columbus. Executive assistant to the CEO. Salary, benefits, professional development. I read that email 30 times. I printed it and hid it under my mattress like a teenage diary. It was my exit visa. The interview was on a Monday morning in April. I told my parents I had a dental appointment. I borrowed a navy blazer from my college friend Kayla. Slightly too big, but professional enough. I had $17 and a bus ticket in my wallet. I practiced answers in the bathroom mirror until midnight. At 10:45 that morning I came downstairs with my folder, my blazer on, hair in a neat bun. My mother was standing in front of the front door, arms crossed. That look on her face that meant the decision had already been made. Where do you think you're going? Before I could speak, Amber walked in through the side door with Caleb on her hip, Emma trailing behind clutching her stuffed rabbit, a diaper bag the size of a suitcase dragging behind her. She didn't apologize. She didn't say good morning. She just set Caleb down on the floor, dropped the bag at my feet with a heavy thump, and started listing instructions. Emma needs lunch at noon. Caleb naps at 1. Don't let him sleep past 2:30 or he'll be up all night. I'll be back by 4. Probably. I can't, I said. My voice sounded far away. I have something important. Amber actually laughed. Then my dad walked out from the kitchen holding his coffee, looking at me like I was a disappointing employee. Not angry. Amused. Girls like you don't get lives, Layla. You get duties. That's just how it is. Emma looked up at me. 4 years old, blonde hair, my eyes. My name on her lips. I looked at her. Then at the diaper bag. Then at my mother still blocking the front door. Then at my dad leaning against the wall. Then at Amber already turning away, completely certain I'd stay. I looked at the clock. 10:49. And I did something I had never done before in my life. I stepped over the diaper bag. I walked past Amber, past my dad, through the kitchen, and out the back door into the cold April morning. My mother's voice followed me. Layla, and if you walk out that door. And I opened it. 47 degrees and overcast. I walked down the driveway, turned left, and started the 1.2 miles to the bus station in $12 flats. My phone buzzed 6 times in my pocket. I didn't look at it. I passed my dad's business on the way, the lit windows, his truck in the lot, the sign with his name on it, the place I'd worked 3 years without a single paycheck. I kept walking. I made it to the bus station at 11:58. 7 minutes to spare. The interview was in Columbus. I ran the last 3 blocks from the station, purse bouncing, folder pressed to my chest, arriving breathless at 2:02. The chief of staff met me in the lobby, smiled when she saw me and said, "You made it." I almost cried. Instead, I smiled and said, "Wouldn't miss it." The panel lasted over an hour. 3 people asked about software skills, calendar management across time zones, handling difficult clients, discretion. I answered everything honestly, described my experience without revealing it was a family business until it felt natural. And when the operations manager leaned forward and said, "You're self-taught in project management?" I told her yes, I'd completed Google's certification while working full-time, because I was motivated to learn. Patricia, the chief of staff, walked me out. "We'll be in touch within the week. You're a strong candidate, Layla." I floated to the bus station. The ride back felt lighter than anything I'd ever felt. By the time the bus pulled back into my hometown that evening, I'd already started imagining my new life. I didn't know that my mother had already started destroying it. I went home that night, packed my duffel bag, clothes for 5 days, my laptop, my folder of certificates, the cash I'd saved from birthday cards over 3 years, and I slept one final night in that house on the floor of my childhood bedroom because the bed was covered in Amber's laundry. I left at 6 the next morning. My dad's truck was already gone. My mother was still asleep. I put my key on the kitchen counter, walked out the front door, the one my mother had blocked, and took the first bus out. My college friend Kayla had a studio apartment in Toledo and a couch I could use. She asked one question. "You okay?" I said, "I will be." She handed me a blanket and didn't push. I slept on that couch for 17 days. I applied to jobs every morning and checked my email obsessively. The reply from the Columbus firm came 8 days after my interview. They were going with another candidate. Generic, professional, no explanation. I read it 20 times looking for something, anything that would tell me what had gone wrong. I cried once in Kayla's bathroom. Then I washed my face and applied to 15 more jobs. What I didn't know, what I wouldn't know for 7 years, was that the day after my interview, my mother had sent an email from a fake account to the company's HR department. That email was sitting in my file, flagged in red with a note attached. Do not hire family concerns. But on that April afternoon in 2019, I just thought I'd failed. The years that followed were slow and quiet in mine. A cashier job in Toledo. A studio apartment for $425 a month. No AC, loud neighbors but mine. Then a temp position at a law firm. Then COVID layoffs, survival mode. Then a job posting on LinkedIn for an HR coordinator at the same company that had rejected me. I stared at that listing for 3 hours at 2 in the morning. Then I applied. Different email address. Updated resume showing real work experience. Phone interview June 18th. Offer on July 2nd, $45,000 a year. I sat on my apartment floor when that email came in and cried. I moved to Columbus July 10th. On July 13th, 2020, I walked into the same building where I'd interviewed in 2019, different entrance, different role, entirely different version of myself. The first year was hard. I processed paperwork, scheduled interviews, filed benefits forms, learned HR systems, stayed late, asked questions, volunteered for everything. Nicole, the VP of Operations, one of the 3 people who'd interviewed me in 2019, noticed. She became my informal mentor. One day she said, "You're good at this. Have you thought about certification? Company has tuition reimbursement. I'll sponsor you." I studied nights and passed the HR certification in January 2021. First professional credential with my name on it. I framed it. From there, things moved faster than I ever expected. HR specialist, then senior specialist, then manager. Then in April 2024, HR director, $98,000 a year, an office on the 4th floor, a window facing the Columbus skyline. My name on the door. I took a photo of that door, sent it to no one, and just kept it for myself. I built something real. Nobody had given it to me. I had climbed every single step, in the same building where I'd once been turned away. I thought that was the full circle. I was wrong. April 8, 2026. Tuesday morning. I was at my desk reviewing applications for a project coordinator position. 89 applications, standard spreadsheet scroll. And then I saw it. Amber Wright, formerly Savage. My sister had married Danny. I put the coffee cup down very carefully. The phone number had a Riverside area code. Amber didn't know I worked here. She didn't follow me on LinkedIn. Didn't know where I'd landed. This was a coincidence. She was applying because it was a good company. She had no idea. I clicked on her file. The resume loaded, professional template, clean design. I scrolled to work history. Savage Climate Control, Riverside, Ohio, Operations Manager. January 2017 to December 2019. Bullet points below. Managed daily office operations for 8-employee HVAC service company. Coordinated scheduling for 4 field technicians across a 6-county service area. Processed invoices. Maintained customer database. Handled accounts receivable and payable. Reduced scheduling conflicts by 35% through improved systems. Maintained 98% customer satisfaction rating through effective communication. I read it 3 times. Every single bullet point was work I had done. January 2017 to December 2019, the exact years I'd worked there unpaid, the exact duties, even the 98% satisfaction rating I'd calculated myself in 2018 using customer feedback forms I'd designed. Amber had worked at that company for exactly 0 days. She'd had Emma in 2015, been a stay-at-home mom, tried a blog, tried MLM, tried photography. She had never held an office job. She had stolen my work history. I scrolled to references. 3 listed. 1. Gerald Summers, owner, Savage Climate Control. Former supervisor. My father, who would absolutely lie for her. Of course he would. He always had. I had 2 options. Flag it for conflict of interest, recuse myself, let someone else handle it and move on. Or follow standard protocol exactly, treat it like any other application, let the process play out. But if I recused myself, I'd never know the full truth. And I wanted the truth on record. I chose option 2. I pulled up the company's archived applicant system and searched my own name. 2 results. My June 2020 application hired. And my April 2019 application rejected. I clicked on 2019. Interview notes from all 3 panelists. Self-motivated, impressive initiative, strong candidate. Then an HR notes section. Red flagged entry. April 16, 2019, 9:23 a.m. received email from concerned party regarding candidate stability. Recommend do not proceed. Attachment link. Clicked it. The email was dated the morning after my interview. Sent from a Gmail address I didn't recognize. Subject line. Concerns about candidate Layla Summers. I read it slowly. It claimed I had significant personal and mental health issues, that I had abandoned my 4-year-old niece during a family emergency, that I'd struggled with responsibility and commitment my whole life, that my family had tried to help me but I was resistant to support. Every sentence was a lie or a deliberate distortion. Abandoned, Emma had been dropped at my feet by her own mother. Never held steady employment. I had worked 65 unpaid hours a week for 3 years. Erratic behavior. I had simply left. Resistant to support, I had escaped control. The sender. A Gmail account traced, through IT metadata skills I'd learned in HR training, to a residential IP address. My parents' home. My mother had sent this email the morning after my interview, to destroy my chance. They hadn't just blocked the door. They'd burned the bridge. And for 7 years I thought I'd failed on my own. But Meridian still had the proof. All of it. In my file. I sat at my desk at 11:37 a.m. with Amber's fraudulent resume, my mother's sabotage email from 7 years ago, and my father listed as a reference who was prepared to lie. I thought about my therapist's words from 2 years prior. Justice doesn't have to be revenge. Can just be truth. I picked up my office phone and dialed Savage Climate Control. 3 rings. My father's voice, the first time I'd heard it in 7 years. I kept my voice professional level unrecognizable. Hello, this is Layla Summers, HR Director at Meridian Consulting Group in Columbus. I'm calling to verify employment for Amber Wright, who listed your company as a previous employer. A long silence. Then, Layla. Yes, this is standard employment verification. Can you confirm Amber Wright, formerly Amber Savage, worked at your company from January 2017 to December 2019 as operations manager? Another pause. Then his voice steadied, committing to the lie. Yes, that's correct. Can you describe her responsibilities? She managed the office. Scheduling invoices, customer service. She was very good at it. Did she work full-time? Yes, full-time. Very reliable. Would you rehire her? Absolutely. Amber was one of the best we had. Every word was false. And I had it recorded, legal in Ohio with one-party consent. One more thing. During that same period, January 2017 to December 2019, did you have any other employees performing those same operations manager duties? Pause. No. Just Amber. That was the lie that mattered. Because I existed. I'd been there. I had old customer emails addressed to me at that company, records that tied me to that work, and a father who had just confirmed on tape that none of it happened. Thank you, I said. That's all I need. I hung up, saved the recording, and typed one line in Amber's file. Employment verification completed. Discrepancies noted. Recommend in-person interview to clarify. I wanted to look her in the eye. The invitation went out through the system 1 week later. Standard language, professional format. She would meet with Layla Summers, HR Director. Jonathan Pierce, CEO. Nicole Hendris, VP of Operations. Her response came the same day. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it. No recognition of my name. No pause. No question. 7 years of silence, and she'd never once looked for me, wondered about me, or cared. I told Jonathan and Nicole everything in advance. They trusted me to lead. April 14, 2026. 9:55 a.m. I sat in the conference room, the two of them flanking me, watching the lobby through the glass wall. At 9:58, a woman walked in, brown hair, familiar build, nervous smile, business casual from Target, clutching a portfolio folder. Amber, older than she'd been in 2019, tired around the eyes, trying hard. She approached reception, got her visitor badge, and then the receptionist pointed toward our area. I stood, walked into the lobby, and made eye contact. She froze. I extended my hand. Amber, I'm Layla Summers, HR Director. Welcome to Meridian. Her face went white. Her hand when she shook mine was clammy. Layla, I didn't know you worked here. 7 years is a long time. Things change. Please follow me. The first 20 minutes were standard. Jonathan and Nicole handled project coordination questions, software skills, time management. Amber answered adequately, nervous but prepared. Then Nicole leaned forward. I see you worked at Savage Climate Control. Tell me about that role. Yes, I was operations manager for 3 years. Small family business, I managed everything. scheduling, customer service, billing. Taught me a lot about wearing multiple hats. I took notes. No expression. Family business? Yes. My father's company. I see. And those years again. 2017 to 2019. Full-time. Jonathan asked about employment gaps. She explained 3 children, some freelance virtual assistant work. Ready to return to structured employment. I asked if she could provide references from any freelance clients. She said they were mostly informal arrangements, nothing she had documentation for. At 10:22, Jonathan said, "Thank you, Amber. We'd like to take a short break. Layla will continue with some follow-up questions." Planned, I'd ask them to step out. The door closed. Just the 2 of us. She looked at me finally. Really looked. "Layla, I didn't know you'd be." I held up my hand. "Let's talk about your resume." I slid the printed copy across the table and pointed to the Savage Climate Control section. "You listed operations manager, January 2017 to December 2019. Is that accurate?" "Yes." "Full-time, 40 hours per week?" "Well, it was a family business, flexible, but I did the work." "I called your reference. Gerald Summers confirmed you worked there full-time as operations manager. Said you were one of the best he'd had. Did you ask him to lie?" "I did work there. I helped out." "Helped out? That's different from operations manager. Full-time, January 2017 to December 2019. I kept my voice calm, even quiet. "I worked at Savage Climate Control from January 2017 to December 2019. Unpaid. Full-time. Doing the exact job described on this resume. Every single bullet point here, I wrote them. Because they're my accomplishments. You put your name on my work history." Her face cycled through red, white, and red again. She opened her mouth, closed it. Then, "I needed a job, Layla. I have 3 kids. Danny left. I'm on my own. I just needed something on the resume that looked real." 10 seconds of silence. Then I slid the second document across the table. The email from April 16, 2019. "What is this?" An email sent to Meridian HR the day after I interviewed here 7 years ago. From an anonymous Gmail account. Claimed I was unstable. That I'd abandoned your daughter. That I was unemployable. "It's the reason I didn't get this job." She stared at it. "I don't understand." "It came from Mom." I traced the IP address. Her computer, the morning after I walked out. I paused. "You were there that morning. You dropped the diaper bag at my feet. You watched me leave." "Layla, I was 22. I had a 4-year-old and I was pregnant. I was drowning. So was I. I had a life-changing interview. You had brunch." Her voice rose. "You left us. You walked out like we meant nothing, like we could just." "I left because I was drowning. You turned me into your unpaid nanny. Mom and Dad turned me into free labor for 7 years. And the one time I tried to save myself, they destroyed me. And you let them. And then you showed up here and tried to take the career I built, using the work I did that no one paid me for." Amber started crying, not delicate tears. Ugly, desperate, cornered crying. I felt nothing. I'd cried all my tears a long time ago in a $600 a month apartment in Toledo. Then she said it. The sentence that broke it all open. "You don't know what it's been like. You left and everything fell apart. We needed you." And that's when I noticed the conference phone on the table. The small light was on. The call was active. My phone lit up with a text from Nicole. Conference line. 12 people on. System glitched, line connected early. Client call for 10:30 test dialed in at 10:15. They've been listening from "Let's talk about your resume" onward. I looked at the phone. Jonathan, Nicole, 3 senior managers, 6 client stakeholders, and Patricia Holland, the woman who'd been my original interviewer in 2019. All of them listening. I could have ended the call. 7 years ago I would have. Instead I reached over, clicked mute, then unmuted, making sure the line was clear. Amber didn't notice the light. She kept going, spiraling now. "Mom said you'd come crawling back. She said you'd fail. But you didn't. And you didn't even tell us. You just let us think you were nothing." Her voice cracked. "Do you know what Dad says about you? He says you're selfish. He says you abandoned family, And now you're sitting here judging me for doing what I had to do to survive. I'm not judging you, Amber. I'm conducting a background verification. And you lied on your resume. That's fraud. It's not fraud. I helped at that company. You helped occasionally. That's different from claiming 3 years as a full-time operations manager and using my accomplishments to prove it. And your father backed up every word of it on a recorded call this morning. She slammed the table. Stood up. You think you're better than me because you have some fancy director title? You're nobody. You'll always be nobody. Girls like. She stopped, because I was staring at her with an expression she clearly didn't know what to do with. Finish that sentence, I said quietly. She sat back down, face collapsing. My office phone rang. Jonathan's voice. Layla, please end the interview. Security is outside. I looked at Amber. This interview is over. The door opened. 2 security officers, calm and professional. Amber looked up, confused. Wait, why? You're being escorted out for fraudulent application. It's company policy. Layla, please. I'm sorry. I just needed this. Please don't do this. I'm sorry, Amber, I said, and I meant it in the only way I knew how. I can't hire someone who falsified their resume. I have to protect this company's integrity. Security led her to the elevator. She looked back once. My face was calm. Not cruel. Not gloating. Just done. I walked back to the conference table, spoke clearly into the speaker. This concludes the candidate interview. I'll send a formal report by end of day. I disconnected, then sat alone in that room for 5 minutes. I didn't cry. I didn't celebrate. I just sat. Then my desk phone rang. Jonathan's office. I walked in expecting to be thanked for my professionalism, and quietly managed out of my role for making things complicated. Jonathan, Nicole, Patricia Holland, and the company's general counsel were all there. Jonathan leaned forward. That was one of the most professional handlings of a conflict of interest I've ever witnessed. You followed protocol, you documented everything, you gave her every chance to be honest. Are you okay? I was surprised enough that it took me a moment. Yes, I'm okay. Nicole said. We heard everything. The sabotage from 2019. The resume fraud. All of it. I'm so sorry you went through that. Patricia spoke quietly. I was your interviewer in 2019. I never saw that email. I was told to move to other candidates and I didn't ask why. If I'd known. The general counsel laid it out cleanly. We had Amber's fraudulent application, a recorded reference call confirming employment that never happened, and 12 witnesses to her in-room admission. We also had evidence of deliberate sabotage of my 2019 application. I had grounds for legal action if I wanted to pursue it. I didn't. I don't want to go after my family legally, I said. I just want it on record. And I want to make sure Amber can't do this to another company. Jonathan nodded. Understood. We'll flag her in our industry network. Professional consequences, not personal revenge. Nicole handed me a tissue. I hadn't realized I'd started crying. I went home that day, turned my phone off, and slept for 14 hours. The next 48 hours were chaos I watched from a distance. Amber called my work line 12 times. My dad left a voicemail. This is a family matter. You had no right. Call me. My mother called Meridian's main line asking for me. Amber showed up in the lobby and was turned away by security. My dad showed up and refused to leave. Police were called. He was escorted out for trespassing. Emails flooded my work account and went straight to spam. My father's voicemail. What you did to your sister is unconscionable. She has 3 kids to feed. You humiliated her. This family gave you everything, and this is how you repay us. My mother's email subject line, how could you? Layla, I don't know what happened to you. You used to be such a sweet girl. Now you're cruel. Amber is devastated. Please, for the sake of this family, fix this. Get Amber that job. You have the power. Be the bigger person. I didn't respond to any of it. On April 17th, I hired a lawyer and sent a cease and desist to all 3 of them. No contact via phone, email, or in person, or I would pursue a restraining order. The letter included documentation of the 2019 sabotage email, evidence of the harassment campaign, and one clear statement. Layla Summers wishes no further contact with her family. She will communicate only through legal counsel if necessary. 3 weeks of silence. Then May 8, 2026, a message arrived in my Instagram DMs from an account I didn't recognize. Hi, this is Emma, Amber's daughter, your niece. I'm 11. I know you probably won't answer, but I wanted to say thank you for the birthday cards. I kept all of them. Mom threw them away, but I took them out of the trash. I have 7 cards from you in a box under my bed. I don't know what happened between you and my mom. She won't talk about it. But Grandma says you abandoned us and Grandpa says you're selfish. But you send me cards every year. That doesn't seem like abandoning. I found your LinkedIn because Mom was looking you up and crying. I saw you work at a big company. Think that's cool. I want to work at a big company someday too. I'm not asking you to talk to Mom. I just wanted you to know I got the cards. And I miss you. I don't really remember you, but I miss you anyway. Emma. I sobbed for 20 minutes. Then I replied carefully. I told her I was glad she kept the cards, that I thought about her every year on her birthday, that I wasn't ready for contact with her mom or grandparents, but that if she ever needed anything as she grew up, advice about school, about careers, about life, she could message me and I would always respond. She replied, thank you. That's enough. 1 month later, she sent another message. Her mom had gotten a job at a call center and was angry all the time. But Emma had gotten an A on her English essay and wanted to tell someone who'd care. I cared. That's the relationship I kept from all of it. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just a quiet open door for a kid who deserved one. In August of 2026, 4 months after the interview, an email arrived from Patricia Holland. Subject line: something you should see. She had found the file from April 2019 while going through old records after our conversation. She'd been ready to send me an offer the week after my interview. Salary, start date, everything. Then HR flagged my file because of my mother's email, and she was told to stop the process without ever seeing why. She'd never sent the letter. She sent it now. Unsigned, 7 years late, with 1 line added by hand. You were good enough then. You're exceptional now. I'm sorry we failed you. I printed it and framed it. It hangs on my wall next to my current business card. The validation I'd needed for 7 years finally in writing. I'd been good enough. They'd stolen it. But I'd built something better anyway. Today, I'm VP of People Operations at the same company, $115,000 a year. I launched a small mentorship program for young professionals from controlling families. Quiet, not formal, but it matters. I run in the mornings just because my body feels good moving. I'm in therapy every other week in a healthy relationship with $34,000 saved in credit I built from scratch. Emma messages me sometimes. She's 12 now, thriving despite the chaos at home. We talk about books, school, what she wants to be. I'm not her parent, but I'm someone who sees her. That's enough. This morning I was training a new HR coordinator. 22 years old, nervous, eager. She asked how you spot resume fraud. I smiled. Look for gaps. Look for inflated titles. Look for claims without evidence. And always verify with the actual employer, not just the reference they provide. I paused. Have you ever caught someone? Once, I said. It was personal, but I handled it professionally. That's the key. You can have history with someone and still do your job with integrity. She took notes. I looked at my calendar. April 15th. 8 years since the back door. I still have a note on my phone from that day, typed in a parking lot outside a bus station in Cheap Flats. 3 words I added the year I finally understood what they meant, the day I chose the back door. And below it, 1 word I added the day I stopped needing them to see it, free.